Okay, here goes nothing. I'm going to demonstrate the centralized workflow. I'm working with the same two user accounts, same two Git users, Colt and good old Stevie Chicks, my chicken. Well, you can see Stevie Chicks. That's who I'm signed in here. Once again, pay attention to what you see up top. That is very important to differentiate between the different users. All right, so I've made a repo called Centralized Workflow. Colt is the owner. And I've gone ahead and added Stevie Chicks as a collaborator. As you can see here, I just fast forwarded, or I didn't even fast forward. I skipped through that part entirely because it just takes time. I had to open the email and accept the invite as Stevie. But anyway, we both have access. It's a public repo for now. It doesn't matter. And Colt's already added a simple README. And I actually did that all in the browser. I don't have this on my local machine. So I am going to clone this down as Colt. So make sure I'm not in a Git repo, Git status, cool. So git clone that URL. Okay, so now we have that folder, Git status, we've got the README, and I'll open that over here. Okay, so there's that file there, and then I'll go ahead and clone the same repo down to Stevie's local machine so that we can, both work on it just like we would, just like in the diagrams where in this centralized workflow, everybody clones or everybody gets the same starting repo, the same remotes. So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this URL and then as Stevie, clone it. Okay, and just as a reminder, I had to jump through some hoops in order to have these two different accounts and be able to clone as separate users with different SSH keys. So I actually did tweak my URL a bit to make this all work. It doesn't really matter because I'm not expecting you to do it, but I just want to be very clear and transparent about that. I am on one machine, and normally you don't have two different accounts and two different SSH keys and all of that. Anyway, I clone that. We see centralized workflow. Great, and we're now working on that. I'll open it in Stevie's editor too. Okay, so now we both have it. We've cloned, we're ready to go. So we're going to make a simple website. I'm talking very, very simple, and Colt is going to start it off. Colt is going to make the index.html, our main file, the entry point into our app, and then he's going to add and commit that. So we'll do a git add index, git commit-m, add index.html. I'm doing super short and kind of terrible commit messages, but that's fine. And then what I'm going to do is use Bootstrap. So if you're familiar with Bootstrap, great. If not, it doesn't really matter because I'm not expecting you to follow along. But I'm going to open that HTML file and add some basic Bootstrap boilerplate. Okay, so I put that in there, and I'll add and commit that as Colt, git add index, git commit, add Bootstrap boilerplate. All right, so now I'm going to push this up. I'll clear. I'm going to push those two commits to origin main. If we're all working on one branch, in this case, it will be the main branch, but in the diagrams I created, it's the master branch everyone's working on, but it's the same concept. So basically, right now, we're playing the role of Forrest, doing some commits and pushing them up. All right, so that's what I'm going to do, git push origin main, and that goes up to GitHub. And now if we refresh our repository, we see index.html, right? This is now up here. So now as Stevie, we definitely want to pull down those changes, right? So git pull origin main just to start. All right, and so now we have that new file, index.html, and let's get to work. Let's say that Colt has been tasked with making a form on their webpage, a simple form. So we're just going to copy some of the forms from the documentation. Maybe it's a form that looks like, maybe it's just a login form. So we're just going to copy this just to keep everything short. So this is on Colt's machine. We'll put this in the body. We'll add a Bootstrap container. Okay, so this is the work. We'll pretend this took all morning. Colt did this work. So then Colt decides, it's so weird saying my name in third person, but anyway, I decide it's time to make a commit. So always check git status. All right, I'll just do a one-liner, git commit -am for what we do? Add basic, is it a login form that we made? Sure, login form. All right, so now Colt pushes this up. He wants everyone else to know about this. So git push origin main. Now, at the same time all of this has been happening, Stevie is working on some other feature. Stevie has been tasked with adding a navbar. Probably not exactly right, a super realistic reflection of a real workplace, where one person is asked to just put a form on a page and somebody else is asked to independently put some random navbar on a page, and then they're expected to combine it. Usually there would be some sort of design process and some sort of mock-up or wireframe or something that would be what we were trying to recreate. But anyway, let's just say it's a free-for-all. Stevie has been asked to add a navbar. So on Bootstrap, we can make all sorts of fancy navbars like this one here. Again, I'm just going to copy this. Just straight up copy it. I don't want to waste your time. So Stevie, this is Stevie's desktop here, puts that in index.html, puts it right above everything else. So this is Stevie's work. Let's see what it looks like if we refresh. There's the navbar. Okay. So then Stevie adds and commits that. Git add index, git commit -m, add, bootstrap navbar. Okay. So then he keeps working, and then maybe he makes another small tweak. He actually wants this to be a dark navbar. So on the navbar, we can change this navbar light to be navbar dark, and then give it a dark background. So BG dark, like this. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so that's what Stevie wants. And then he realizes, oh, you know what? This is supposed to be responsive, and it is, except why is this drawer not working? Right? He wants this drawer like it does on the documentation. Whoops, it's on this page, isn't it? On the documentation, when this collapses, right there, there's this drop down that's supposed to show up, or this drawer that expands. But it's not happening on Stevie's copy, and he's freaking out. He's very junior. He's a chicken. He doesn't know what's going on. So he decides, you know what, I should just ask Colt. He's somewhat experienced with this. I'm going to just ask him. I'll send him a Slack message, and I'll put my code up on GitHub. So you probably know where I'm going with this. Stevie needs to put this code on GitHub. He wants to put this it's working. It's a navbar. It's showing up, but for whatever reason, it's not collapsing. He wants to share this with Colt. So Stevie goes ahead and adds and commits. He needs to add that. Git add index, git commit -m, change navbar color to dark or something. All right. So now Stevie, moment of truth. I'll make this a bit larger here. Now he pushes this code up. And if we're doing this centralized workflow, if there's only one branch, main, he pushes that up. So git push origin main. Uh-oh, what does this say? Rejected. Oh, who saw this coming? Failed to push some refs to blah, 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 blah. Updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. This is usually caused by another repository pushing blah, 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 blah. So basically, we ran into this problem. Oh my gosh, lots of desktops right here, where if we try and push something up and we don't have all the new work from GitHub, Git won't let us do that. So we first have to pull those new commits down. Basically, I have to get the work. Stevie has to get the work that Colt pushed up to GitHub. Oh boy, what a nightmare to talk about all of this. But right, there's these new commits. There's 5 commits here. The most recent one is the login form that Colt pushed up to GitHub. Stevie doesn't have that locally. So we have to pull down. So we can do that. Git pull origin main. And it could have been worse, but there was still a merge. So we have this merge commit, and it's saying merge branch main, blah, 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 on into main. Sure, we'll just go with that. So this is what things now look like on Stevie's machine. He got the changes that Colt did for this form. So now he can push up, hopefully. Let's see, git status. Yes, he's good to go. So he can push up, git push origin main, which is what we tried to do in the first place, right? We don't even have this finished navbar. It's still not really working. We want to push that up. Okay, we go to GitHub, and it does show up here. we can see on index, we have the nav bar content. So in the meantime, it's the next day, Colt shows up to work and he starts doing some other stuff. Let's say he's just making some minor tweaks. He's changing the form. I don't know what he's doing to the form. Instead of, we'll never share your email with anyone else, we'll always share your email with everyone. So he's just making some changes. And then he gets that message from Stevie saying, hey, I just pushed up some new code, this broken navbar. Can you try and fix it for me? So Colt then has to decide, okay, well, I have these changes, right, on my master branch or my main branch, the only branch allowed in this workflow. Oh, you can see it's kind of a nightmare. I have changes that are not ready to commit. What do? I want to go get that new stuff from Stevie. But if I try and pull right now, get pull origin main, and what do we see? Oh, it doesn't actually let me do it. It says your local changes to the following files would be overwritten. Please commit your changes or stash them before you merge. So it doesn't even let me get the newest version, the newest work that Stevie's done. So I need to commit or stash. I guess we could stash, but that's fine. So git stash. Okay. So now I can take a look. I can do a git pull origin main again. We're all just working. We're stuck on this one branch. All right. Now I get that new commit, hopefully from Stevie. Let's just take a look. We have the navbar. It is showing up and it's not working, right? I go back here. It's still broken. And that was the point. Stevie wanted help. And just to get help, he had to break the main branch, our only branch. I mean, it's not truly broken, but he had to add this incomplete code to it. This isn't working, and it's not ready for production. I'll get in trouble from my boss. I can't do this sort of thing. So in the next video, we're going to talk about a much better workflow.